Hello, VC, popping back at you with another video. Since I am Swedish, I have said that a couple times, so I thought I would make the motherland proud and talk about some other bands with Swedish members or Swedish bands like in general. And now I forgot to put the tape on that we're going to spin. Grotesques in Embers of Evil, this comp album of Grotesque. They were like at the gates before, at the gates, if I'm correct. So, yeah, a classic Swedish death metal band from the Gothenburg or Göteborg scene. So yeah, but this is more like the Stockholm type sound more than the at the gates type sound. So let's start with bands with members, bands with Swedish members, but they aren't really Swedish. So King Diamond with Fatal Portrait. This one features Mickey D and Little Rock and Mickey D. For the 90% of people in the metal community knows that he went on to Motorhead after he was in Don't Talkin', and before he was in Don't Talkin', he was in King Diamond. But this is my favorite D album and King Diamond album in general. So great stuff. But I believe all of you have at least heard of King Diamond, and his vocals are kind of a split in half of the community. So I believe this is basically like a Swedish band with an American singer, and Yngwie Malmsteen's third album trilogy, a masterpiece in my opinion. I believe this album is perfect, no bad songs at all. I dig every song of this one. Killer artwork, kind of 80s cheesy, but it was the 80s. Can you expect something less, you know? But yeah, and as I said before, this Yngwie gets kind of overlooked with his because of his guitar snobbery and shreddery and all that stuff. His guitar wankery. So, but this is a great metal album. Just a great album in general. No like shred needed to make this a great album. And this is probably my favorite Swedish band of all time, and probably also might be at least in one of my top bands and top extreme metal bands. Bathory was their first debut album. No, this is not an original Jellicoe. This is a bootleg as fuck version. So it's just a classic album. It has a pentagram on the outside. But this is one I would recommend if you are kind of try to get into black metal and you've already conquered Venom. This is the next step. Well, or one of them. I would just suggest first Venom, then Celtic Frost, then Bathory. But if that's the case, you should definitely check out. Raise the Dead is a great one. It's a little bit slower and doomier, and Necromancy. But my favorite is Inconspicuous Satan. I think great song. A great way to open the B-side. But this is one of the most famous Swedish bands of all time. So, and here we have a classic Swedish heavy metal band, Heavy Load. These guys I think are pretty underrated, but those guys that know this absolutely love it, myself included. And yeah, this is just a great album. No bad tracks on this one, and a Bleeding Streets on this one is really good, and Heavy Metal Angels is kind of a classic. The Guitar Is My Sword is a metal anthem, for the Swedes. So and this is just a metal as fuck cover. It's kind of bad, but it's still metal as fuck and cool. So yeah, I can't go wrong with that, you know. Now we get to some CDs. Morbid, December Moon, their famous debut demo, or yeah, they only released 2 demos and then they split up. But this guy Dead, who was in Mayhem, as many of you know probably. So yeah, he was in that band for the first demo. I love that demo. One of my favorite things that ever came out of Sweden, and actually they recorded it in the guitarist of the Heavy Load's studio, Thunderlord Studios. I believe they recorded that demo in. So fun fact for you: the Stockholm scene was a small scene, and Elgi Petrov, who later sang on their first Entombed album, Left on Path, drummed on this album. So great stuff if you haven't checked out. This one is kind of a. It isn't that hard, but it's still kind of hard. So it's not fast, but it's not brutal, but it still like kind of feels heavy, you know, in some way. Yes, I don't know how to describe it. It's just great. Now another Swedish heavy metal band, 220 volts or 420 volt. Yeah, I have showed this many times. One of my favorite Swedish heavy metal albums. And their third album was called Mind Over Muscle. It's great as well. It might be better than this one. I don't know. They're flip flopping those two for me. But classic, you just kind of running wild as cover. You know, Gears of Purgatory and Metal by Anvil. That kind of cover. You know, them on the back. Yes, great album. Might need to take a couple spins, especially for me when the vocals are fairly important for me to get right from the beginning, you know. So this is like the only Swedish like death metal on this list. The Crown, Death is King. They had a couple albums before this, so I gave 3 albums or so. So, but this is clearly my favorite. Just killer tracks, everything is just great on this one. Classic metal blade. This is one of the bigger Swedish death metal bands, but they aren't like big like Entombed and at Gates and stuff like that. But they have somewhat of a bigger following, you know. They played Wacken in 2003, around that. It was pretty big. So yeah. So now we have Rising with Inside Universe. This is a comp of the stuff they did in the 80s, and I said I have a show on this one, but this is just great stuff. I love this one. One of my like top 20 favorite traditional metal bands. Just great stuff on this one. Now we get on to the last 2. This is a minor listener with their first full-length album, Turn on the Power. Just classic Swedish heavy metal at its finest, you know. The only weaker track on this one is the last, I believe. It's called Tears of Pain. It's kind of a slower mellower, but all the other tracks on this one is amazing. Kind of like weird to cover, or not one of the best, but it serves the job, you know. It's just, this one came on a blue cassette, so but yeah, definitely recommend this one. Now, this band, I believe I'll talk extensively about them on this channel and with friends I know, and yeah, Stark Eater. I am basically a wandering what's it called, fucking I'm like an ad poll for this guy. I don't know if that's a word in English, but it's kind of a Swedish word. But these are their collection of demo singles. They did two, and then they did their full length album. They switched singers in between. I like them both, but some people don't really dig the first one. But I still like it. But this was a redefining, and their newest album gets kind of a lot of it gets more and more respect in the underground. So they are kind of growing. When I first heard them, they had like 80 listeners on Spotify or more or less. They had really small following. Now they have like 2,000 listeners a month. It's crazy, and that was like almost just a year ago that happened. So stuff happens fast. So, and there are bands that are left out. For example, Europe, one of the biggest Swedish metal bands. I just don't have anything by them. I would want to get one of the two first albums. I believe those are the ones that I would be interested in. And as I mentioned before, At the Gates, Entombed, Unleashed. Not a really big Swedish death metal fan in general, but there are some. There are like I like some. The Left Hand Path. That album gets kind of tiring for me listening to an entire album, But yeah, the Animal Marth is kind of huge. Got into them like a year ago, or something like that. I haven't heard them since then. But yeah, and there are probably some more that you can drop down below. And yeah, have a great day, and listen to some Swedish metal now that I recommend it.